Hello, and welcome to another episode of Easing the Badger. I'm Will.
I'm Alex.
I'm Flint.
Today we are covering chapters 30, 31, and 32 of The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. And these are some pretty hefty ones.
Yeah, some of the chapters of all time, I think.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, so we should probably just go ahead and jump in, because this is probably going to be a long one.
Agreed.
I'll go ahead and preface my summary by saying I tried to condense as much as possible, and there was not much room to inject levity, and I basically copy and pasted the second half of the chapter while cutting out descriptions. So,
Great.
Fair.
let's go. Chapter 30 is called Children of Shadow, and the icon is our favorite. It's the sunburst for the White Cloaks. I love to see it coming. We start off with Elias basically giving Perrin a therapy session about what just went down between him and Egwene. He asks if Perrin hates her so much that he would want to kill her, and when Perrin refutes it, Elias is like, "Exactly. You weren't trying to murder her, you were trying to spare her pain. Stop beating yourself up about it." Perrin can't really accept this and starts going on about how much he hates his axe. Elias is like, "Well, guess what? You're gonna have to use it a lot. Only throw it away once you stop hating using it." They were then cut off by an urgent sending from the wolves. As soon as Elias came back to himself, he ran back to the campsite and told Egwene to douse the fire. She moved to obey, but slowly in her confusion. Too impatient to wait for her, Elias pushed past, grabbed the tea kettle, upended it over the fire, then tossed it to Perrin, who dropped it because it was still scorching hot. As they all hurriedly packed their belongings and Perrin saddled Bella, Elias told them to go either east or west and that he would find them later. Egwene kept asking what was wrong, but the men wouldn't tell her anything until she had climbed onto the horse and Perrin was leading her away. "There are a lot of men coming on horses. They came up behind the wolves, but the men didn't see them. They're headed toward the pool. Probably they don't have anything to do with us. It's the only water for miles. But Dapple says they smell wrong. It's sort of the way a rabid dog smells wrong." The pool was lost to sight behind them. He could still pick out boulders, fragments of Arthur Hawkwing's statue, in the deepening twilight, but not to tell which was the stone where the fire had been. "We'll stay away from them. Find a place to wait for Elias." "Why should they bother us?" she demanded. "We're supposed to be safe here. It's supposed to be safe. Light, there has to be someplace safe." Perrin finds a rock for them to hide behind, which he realizes is the hand of Arthur Hawkwing. Egwene asks him how he can even see that, as twilight has made way to darkness by this point, and Perrin gives a half-hearted excuse about feeling the shape of the rock. As he was helping her down, they heard shouting from back where they came from. "The men saw wind. They have torches. They're breaking up into parties to search. So many of them, and the wolves are all hurt." He tried to make his voice heartier. "But Dapple and the others should be able to keep out of their way, even injured, and they don't expect us. Don't see what they don't expect. We'll give up soon enough and make camp." Elias was with the wolves and would not leave them while they were hunted. Egwene said, "We'll be all right, Perrin," and he was surprised that she was comforting him. After some time of watching the torchlight moving in the distance, she asked, "Perrin, will you dance with me at Sunday, if we get home by then?" His shoulders shook. He made no sound, and he did not know if he was laughing or crying. "I will, I promise." Against his will, his hands tightened on the axe, reminding him that he still held it. His voice dropped to a whisper. "I promise," he said again, and hoped. Perrin watched through the eyes of the wolves as they attempted to rout the men, too hurt by the ravens to make a proper escape. They hoped to push the men to seek the safety of their fires. They attacked horse and man alike, scaring off as many as they could, and killing when necessary. Elias, too, stalked the night, a two-legged wolf with one long steel fang. The men refused to give up, though. Perrin noticed the men getting closer and closer. Elias had told them to hide, but would they be better off running for it? But before he could even suggest it to Egwene, the decision was taken from him as a group of torch-bearing men rounded the base of the hill, their lance points gleaming in the light. At first, the men passed them by, but they quickly doubled back and spotted them in their hiding place. It was then that Perrin recognized the white cloaks of the Children of the Light. Egwene put a hand on Perrin's arm, looking up at him questioningly, but he knew that if they ran, the white cloaks would chase them down. One of the white cloaks stepped his horse forward and shouted up the hill, "If you can understand human speech, come down and surrender. You'll not be harmed if you walk in the light. If you don't surrender, you will all be killed. You have 1 minute." The lances lowered, long steel heads bright with torchlight. "Perrin," Egwene whispered, "we can't outrun them. If we don't give up, they'll kill us. Perrin?" He deliberated for a moment, but eventually walked toward the white cloaks, Egwene sighing as she followed him. Why are the white cloaks so persistent, as if they hate wolves with a passion? Why do they smell wrong? He almost thought he could smell the wrongness himself when the wind gusted from the riders. "Drop that axe!" the leader barked. Perrin stumbled toward him, wrinkling his nose to get rid of the smell he thought he smelt. "Drop it, bumpkin!" The leader's lance shifted towards Perrin's chest. For a moment, he stared at the lance head, enough sharp steel to go completely through him, and abruptly he shouted, "No!" It was not at the horseman he shouted. Out of the night, Hopper came, and Perrin was one with the wolf. Hopper, the cub who had watched the eagles soar and wanted so badly to fly through the sky as the eagles did. The cub who hopped and jumped and leaped until he could leap higher than any other wolf, and who never lost the cub's yearning to soar through the sky. Out of the night, Hopper came and left the ground in a leap, soaring like the eagles. The White Cloaks had only a moment to begin cursing before Hopper's jaws closed on the throat of the man with his lance leveled at Perrin. The big wolf's momentum carried them both off the other side of the horse. Perrin felt the throat crushing, tasted the blood. Hopper landed lightly, already apart from the man he had killed. Blood matted his fur, his own blood and that of others. A gash down his face crossed the empty socket where his left eye had been. His good eye met Perrin's too for just an instant. "Run, brother!" He whirled to leap again, to soar one last time, and a lance pinned him to the earth. A second length of steel thrust through his ribs, driving into the ground under him. Kicking, he snapped at the shafts that held him. To soar. Pain filled Perrin, and he screamed, a wordless scream that had something of a wolf's cry in it. Without thinking, he leaped forward, still screaming. All thought was gone. The horsemen had bunched too much to be able to use their lances, and the axe was a feather in his hands, one huge wolf's tooth of steel. Something crashed into his head, and as he fell, he did not know if it was Hopper or himself who died. Soar like the eagles. Perrin came to in a white tent the size of a small room, lifting himself from a ground cloth floor as Egwene kneeled next to him, watching him. His head was splitting, and he wasn't sure how he had gotten there. "Thank the light, Perrin," she breathed. "I was afraid they had killed you." A gray-haired man with a dignified but kindly face sorted through two piles of things on a nearby table. Perrin recognized the contents of his pockets, seeing the coin Moiraine had given him roll out. The man picked up Perrin's axe before turning his attention to the Emmons fielders. Perrin tried to stand, but finally noticed he was tied up hand and foot. He looked to Egwene, and she just shrugged and showed him that her hands and feet were also bound tightly and intricately. As the gray-haired man continued to look at them as though he were looking at a puzzle, the tent flap opened, and in strode one ugly-ass Skeletor-looking motherfucker with a long face and gaunt eyes, so thin and wiry it looked like his skin was pulled taut over bones. Perrin caught a glimpse through the tent flap outside and noticed two more white cloaks standing guard. The newcomer stood at attention and said, "My lord captain," in a voice that was both grating and flat. The gray-haired man made a casual gesture and said, "Be at ease, child Byar. Have you tallied our costs for this encounter? 9 men dead, my lord captain, and 23 injured, 7 seriously. All can ride, though. 30 horses had to be put down. They were hamstrung. Many of the remounts are scattered. We may find some at daybreak, my lord captain, but with wolves to send them on their way, it will take days to gather them all. The men who were supposed to be watching them have been assigned to night guard until we reach Camelin. We do not have days, child Byar, the gray-haired man said mildly. We ride at dawn. Nothing can change that. We must be in Camelin in time, yes? As you command, my lord captain. The gray-haired man glanced at Perrin and Egwene, then away again. And what have we to show for it aside from these two younglings? Byar drew a deep breath and hesitated. I have had the wolf that was with this lot skinned, my lord captain. The hide should make a fine rug for my lord captain's tent. Without realizing it, Perrin began growling and pulling at his restraints, even until blood slicked his wrists. For the first time, Byar looked at the prisoners. Egwene started back from him. His face was as expressionless as his voice, but a cruel light burned in his sunken eyes, as surely as flames burned in Baal-Zamon's. Byar hated them, as if they were enemies of long years, instead of people never seen before tonight. Perrin stared back defiantly. His mouth curled into a tight smile at the thought of his teeth meeting in the man's throat. Abruptly, his smile faded and he shook himself. My teeth? I'm a man, not a wolf. Light, there has to be an end to this. But he still met Byar's glare, hate for hate. I do not care about wolf-hide rugs, child Byar. The rebuke in the Lord Captain's voice was gentle, but Byar's back snapped rigid again, his eyes locking to the wall of the tent. You were reporting on what we achieved this night, no? If we achieved anything? I would estimate that the pack that attacked us at 50 beasts or more, my lord captain. Of that, we killed at least 20, perhaps 30. Did not consider it worth the risk of losing more horses to have the carcasses brought in tonight. In the morning, I will have them gathered and burned, those that aren't dragged off in the dark. Besides these two, there were at least a dozen other men. I believe we disposed of 4 or 5, but it is unlikely we will find any bodies, given the Dark Friends' propensity for carrying away their dead to hide their losses. This seems to have been a coordinated ambush, but that raises the question of... Perrin's throat caught. Was Elias okay? He reached out with his mind to the wolves, but got nothing. It was as though he had never been able to hear them at all. Either they're dead, or they've abandoned you, he thought, suppressing a bitter laugh. He finally got what he had wanted. Too high a cost. The Lord Captain laughed softly. You really think there were so many, child Byar? Perhaps once you've seen a little more action. But my Lord Captain Bornhold! I would say 6 or 8 wolves, child Byar, and perhaps no other humans than these two. You have the true zeal, but no experience outside the cities. It is a different thing bringing the light when streets and houses are far distant. Wolves have a way of seeming more than they are in the night, and men also. 6 or 8 at most, I think. Byar's flush deepened slowly. I also suspect they were here for the same reason we are. The only easy water for at least a day in any direction. A much simpler explanation than spies or traitors within the children, and the simplest explanation is usually the truest. You will learn with experience. Byar's face went even paler, except for the hollows in his cheeks turning more purple. He cut a glare at the two prisoners. Perrin thought, he hates us even more now for having heard this. Why did he hate us to begin with? What do you think of this? Bornhold asked, indicating Perrin's axe. Byar took it and tested it out with a few swings, as deft as though he had been born with an axe in hand. Very well balanced, made by a master, not the weapon of a simple villager. No. The gray-haired man turned toward Perrin and Egwene with a weary, slightly chiding smile, a kindly grandfather who knew his children had been up to some mischief. My name is Joffrey Bornhold. You are Perrin, I understand. But you, young woman, what is your name? Perrin glowered at him, but Egwene shook her head. Don't be silly, Perrin. I'm Egwene. Just Perrin and just Egwene, Bornhold murmured. But I suppose if you truly are dark friends, you wish to hide your identities as much as possible. We aren't dark friends, Perrin protested angrily. Before the words were even out of his mouth, Byar had moved like a snake toward Perrin and struck him across the head with the handle of his own axe, knocking him to the floor so that he saw stars and little birdies fluttered in a circle around his head. You have no right, Egwene began, and screamed as the axe handle whipped toward her. She threw herself aside, and the blow whistled through empty air as she tumbled to the ground cloth. You will keep a civil tongue, Byar said, when speaking to an anointed of the light, or you will have no tongue. The worst of it was his voice still had no emotion at all. Cutting out their tongues would give him no pleasure and no regret. It was just something he would do. Go easy, child Byar. Bornhold looked at the captives again. I expect you do not know much about the Anointed, or about Lords Captain of the Children of the Light, do you? No, I thought not. Well, for Child Byar's sake, at least try not to argue or shout, yes? I want no more than that you should walk in the light, and letting anger get the better of you won't help any of us. For Child Byar's sake, Perrin thought, and Byar looked at them with a smile that never reached his eyes, making his head look even more like a skull. Perrin noticed that Bornhold had not told Byar to go easy on them. I have heard of this thing of men running with wolves, Bornhold said musingly, though I have not seen it before. Men supposedly talking with wolves and with other creatures of the Dark One. A filthy business. It makes me fear the last battle is indeed coming soon. Perrin explained that wolves are not servants of the Dark One at all. Bornhold raised an eyebrow. Who told you that? A warder, Egwene said. He said wolves hate Trollocs, and Trollocs are afraid of wolves. A warder, the gray-haired man sighed. A creature of the Tarvalon witches. What else would that sort tell you, when he is a dark friend himself, and a servant of dark friends? Do you not know Trollocs have wolves' muzzles and teeth, and wolves' fur? Not all of them, Egwene muttered. Some of them have horns, like rams or goats, or hawk's beaks, or all sorts of things. Bornhold shook his head sadly. I give you every chance, and you dig yourself deeper with every word. He held up one finger. You run with wolves, creatures of the Dark One. A second finger. You admit to being acquainted with a warder, another creature of the Dark One. I doubt he would have told you what he did if it was only in passing. A third finger. You, boy, carry a Tarvalon mark in your pocket. Most men outside Tarvalon get rid of those as fast as they can, unless they serve the Tarvalon witches. Fourth. You carry a fighting man's weapon while you dress like a farm boy. A skulker, then. The thumb rose. You know Trollocs and Murdral. This far south, only a few scholars and those who have traveled in the borderlands believe they are anything but stories. Perhaps you have been to the borderlands? If so, tell me where. I've traveled a good deal in the borderlands. I know them well. No? Ah, well then. He looked at his spread hand, then dropped it hard on the table. The grandfatherly expression said the grandchildren had been up to some very serious mischief indeed. Why do you not tell me the truth of how you came to be running in the night with wolves? Perrin saw the look Egwene got and knew she was going to tell one of the stories they had come up with, but he knew that wouldn't work in this situation, so he cut her off. We're from the Two Rivers, he said, and Egwene stared at him before catching herself. He then went on with a very much abridged version of the truth. He said they had sought adventure and went to check out Shadar Logoth, but found a bunch of Trollocs there. They escaped across the Arenal, but were lost until they met a man who said he could guide them to Camelin, who refused to tell them his name. The first they had seen of wolves had been the night the White Cloaks had found them, and they were just trying to hide from them. He finished with, If we'd known you were children of the light, we would have gone to you for help. There is no warder in that, the gray-haired man said after a moment. Perrin's invention had failed him. He knew he should have taken time to think it out. Egwene leaped into the breach. We met him in Bearlawn. The city was crowded with men who had come down from the mines after the winter, and we were put at the same table in an inn. We only talked to him for the length of a meal. Perrin breathed again. Thank you, Egwene. Give them back their belongings, Child Byar. Not the weapons, of course. When Byar looked at him in surprise, Bornhold added, Or are you one of those who have taken to looting the unenlightened, Child Byar? It's a bad business, that, yes? No man can be a thief and walk in the light. Byar seemed to struggle with disbelief at the suggestion. Then you're letting us go? Egwene sounded surprised. Course not, child, Bornhold said sadly. You may be telling the truth about being from the Two Rivers, since you know about Bearlawn and the mines, but Shadar Logoth, that is a name very, very few know, most of them dark friends, and anyone who knows enough to know the name knows enough not to go there. I suggest you think of a better story on the journey to Amador. You will have time, since we must pause in Camelin. Preferably the truth, child. There is freedom in truth and the light. Byar spun from the prisoners, and there was an outraged snap to his words. You can't. It is not allowed. Bornhold raised one eyebrow quizzically, and Byar pulled himself up short, swallowing. Forgive me, my lord captain. I forgot myself, and I humbly beg pardon and submit myself for penance. But as my lord captain himself has pointed out, we must reach Camelin in time, and with most of our remounts gone, we will be hard-pressed enough without carrying prisoners along. And what would you suggest? Bornhold asked calmly. The penalty for dark friends is death. The flat voice made it all the more jarring. He might have been suggesting stepping on a bug. There is no truce with the shadow. There is no mercy for dark friends. Zeal is to be applauded, Child Byar, but I must often tell my son Dane overzealousness can be a grievous fault. Remember that no man is so lost that he cannot be brought to the light. These two are young. They cannot yet be deep in the shadow. They can yet be led to the light if they will only allow the shadow to be lifted from their eyes. We must give them that chance. For a moment, Perrin almost felt affection for the grandfatherly man who stood between them and Byar. Then Bornhold turned his grandfather's smile on Egwene. If you refuse to come to the light by the time we reach Amador, I will be forced to turn you over to the questioners, and beside them, Byar's zeal is but a candle beside the sun. Repent, renounce the Dark One, come to the light, confess your sins, and tell what you know of this vileness with wolves, and you will be spared of that. You will walk free in the light. His gaze centered on Perrin, and he sighed sadly. Ice filled Perrin's spine. But you, just Perrin from the Two Rivers, you killed two of the children. He touched the axe that Byar still held. For you, I fear, a gibbet waits in Amador. And that is the end of chapter 30.
Kill them all, actually. Kill more of them.
Right?
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I
The
hate them.
worst. The worst.
Alex, you're muted.
Better me be muted than you hear the absolute cackling I was doing earlier. At Will's description of Skeletor.
I realized partway through taking my notes on him that my mental image of Child Byar is basically just Stephen Miller.
Oh my god. Oh my god, you're right.
You've completely changed my mental image of Byar. Completely.
That's why didn't you handle the casting for the TV show?
See,
I
this
actually,
is
I don't
this
think
is why
Byar
all
made it into the show.
casting needs to be done by the gays. all of it, because you guys are just spot on. I hate that I hate that I like Bornhold so much. I hate so much that I like him.
I don't. I don't at all.
I said the
See,
same thing on my first read through too. I said I fucking hate that I like him.
Bornhold is like the most reasonable Republican.
Yes, and that is why I like him, because he
He's
seems okay-ish with reason.
he's like John McCain compared to MAGA.
He still fucking sucks, but I mean, yeah, because he's just still not a good person. You know, he didn't stop Bayar from pistol whipping them with the axe handle and shit. But and the thing is like, just based on what we already know from the previous interactions with the children, even if Perrin had told him the full true fucking story, he still wouldn't have believed him. He still would have found something to think was a lie.
More importantly, I think the fact remains that Perrin killed 2 White Cloaks.
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure.
there was nothing that was gonna change Perrin's fate in
Oh
this
no, by any means.
kindly old man's eyes.
By any means.
I don't like him for the same because he does the same thing that they all do. He says, like, for child Bayar's sake, or tell the truth, and getting angry won't help you, as though you didn't attack them in at night for no reason and then tie them up and then kill a wolf.
I'm so
Like
fucking angry about Hopper. I will
like they don't know
never.
where they are. They don't know where they are. You've tied them up. You've taken all of their things, and now you're interrogating them. And there's no acceptable answer that they could give you.
They
No,
could, even if Perrin had not killed 2 of them, if Perrin had not even raised a hand against them, Perrin could have told them the absolute truth from the moment things went sideways in Edmund's Field, and he still would have found something to think Perrin was lying.
There's absolutely no reason to believe that Egwene has a path out of this.
No. No.
Once you're in their grips, they'll find a way to.
They have already given us absolutely no reason to trust anything they say.
no, they've already got you. So now all they do is watch you squirm. No, I
Because
hate them. Kill
even
more of them.
if you speak, if you can understand human language, come out. If you walk in the light, no harm will come to you. Now Egwene's tied up and she didn't do shit.
Yep.
I still think on an adjacent subject here, I understand that Bayar is a city boy. You don't know shit, but I still think he inflated those numbers to make it seem like things were better than what they were. Whether he truly believed that there was more out there than what actually was, I still think he inflated those numbers.
Actually, there were 1,000 wolves, and we killed 500.
Yeah. They killed 20 wolves, but they'll be dragged away in the night by other wolves. And they killed how many people? But they also will be dragged away in the night. So you'll never find the proof of it.
Very convenient that Dark Friends have a propensity for hiding their dead, so we can never have proof that there were Dark Friends to begin with.
Right. I do appreciate that Bornhall didn't buy that one bit. Because even on my reread through, I was just snickering to myself. I'm like, this overly inflated asshole.
Also, we learned at the end there that the White Cloak we met earlier in the book was Dane Bornhold, Geoffrey Bornhold's son.
Yep.
A family business.
It is a family affair.
Of course it fucking runs in the family. Of course it does. Of course it's another fucking Bornhold. They're a goddamn plague. Cockroaches.
Cockroaches have a use. Excuse you. They have an ecological use. These guys don't. I'm just
Do
saying.
they have an ecological use in my kitchen?
To be fair, humans in their kitchens invaded their living spaces.
I guess so.
I'll go into the ecological fight if we want, but I don't think you want to do that right now. We might want to do
I
that.
actually
We might
don't
want to have
care.
that discussion later.
I
I
actually
want to
don't care.
know.
Yeah, I learned long ago that with Alex's biologist ass, you can't ever compare anyone to any type of animal.
You can't. You can't, because every animal has a niche and a use. People like the Bornholds don't. That's all there is to it. I want to know, Flint, your reaction to Hopper's death.
I hated it. I barely even knew Hopper, and I cried a little bit. I hate that.
Yep.
That's so sad. What was the point of that? Except that the White Cloaks fucking suck. I hate them. Kill them all.
That was the point of it. To enrage you. To work you up, to make you hate a very hated faction even more.
I mean, it fucking worked.
The twist of the knife when they was doing the reflection of Hopper's youth, and then that last, what was that last line from Hopper?
To soar.
Soar
To
with
soar.
the Eagles.
Like, ugly crying every time, ugly crying.
Yep.
And and yeah, we do barely know Hopper, but think about this. Hopper, what we do know of Hopper, he's a dedicated and loyal wolf, right? He's
Dapple's right hand.
Dapple's right hand. He was 100% an enforcer for her, I think, and I feel like when the whole pack is together, he was 100% putting the others in their place on her behalf when she wasn't around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hate it.
It sucks. And then to have it confirmed by the fact that they have his skin. I hate
Oh my
that.
god,
They have
that
his
makes
pelt.
me so mad.
Horrible. Horrible.
That enraged me. That enraged me more than the actual death, honestly. So now, Perrin's lost contact with Elias and the other wolves. They are quite far away.
Despite Bayar saying there were dozens of men, there was no specific actual confirmation that they even saw Elias.
Right.
And there's no body, so we can hope that he got out.
Unless one of the bodies for the children had like knife wounds that was clearly an Elias kill, they have no other proof that a human was there. As far as we know, there is no proof that those kills were not done by wolves. Which is really interesting to think about. And again, I think that circles back around to partially by our not understanding country hunts and partially by our inflating numbers to make the children look better in the eyes of their commander. And I think it goes to show.
I think he also just like builds situations up in his head more than they are.
Probably.
Like not necessarily intentionally inflating it even, though there may be a bit of that, but I think he just kind of he overreacts.
Yeah, but in him also not understanding like I said, country hunts, he also probably doesn't realize that come morning, I will bet you anything that Bornhold would go out there, be able to look at all the trampled area and be like, no, this is from us. There were not the footprints of 20 plus men here. You know what I'm saying? But I bet you anything Bayer doesn't even know how to track.
Well, and I think this is probably something Bayar was saying when Perrin like went off into his thoughts about Elias and the other wolves. Like at one point, Jephram refutes the notion that there was a conspiracy among turncoat white cloaks and stuff. So like we didn't see Bayar say that on the page, but we can assume like he kept going and had this full grand conspiracy that they were betrayed.
Because how else could they know we were here?
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, no, they were probably just here for water like everyone else within a 50-mile radius.
Closer to the beginning of that chapter, or at the beginning, the conversation between Perrin and Elias, I really enjoyed. Perrin says that he hates the axe and that he doesn't know what he's doing with it. And it really struck me, none of them were ever really ready to be warriors. Not even, the brief things that they did with land, the exercises and stuff, prepares you for the reality of killing something or being a soldier. Maybe if they'd had time, Land could have taught them like the philosophy of that. They just didn't. And so none of them are really ready for that. And so it makes sense, that Perrin would actually hate the axe when he actually has to use it as a weapon, or when he has to use it as a weapon against his friends instead of on their behalf.
Right. I think Perrin instinctively, what it gives off to me is much more protector than outright fighter.
Mm.
I think, I mean, we see that in an outright attack, Perrin is more than willing to fight back without thinking in order to protect himself and others. Perrin, I do not believe, would have swung if Hopper had not gotten involved, gotten injured, gotten killed.
And I mean, yeah, Perrin has human blood on his hands now. You
Yep,
know, they've fought Trollocs before, but now
it's different.
killed men, and I don't think he even realized he did it.
He hasn't had
Because
time.
it doesn't describe that he killed anyone. It described him swinging the axe after Hopper went down,
Yeah,
but it doesn't describe those men's deaths at all. And then suddenly he wakes up in a tent,
right.
and I don't think he realized what he had done until Bornhold said so there at the end.
Yeah. I think it's because Perrin went into a sort of like berserker fugue
Yeah,
state, right?
Berserker there.
If he lost his shit. And I can't say I blame him. You know, he was melded with Hopper at the time, so he's feeling
Yeah.
Hopper's emotions and feelings plus his own. Elias needs to teach the boy to control that shit, man.
To experience the death of something else, terrible.
Right,
I can't even fathom.
right.
Brutal for the psyche.
I mean, you see that a lot in other types of fantasy too. For example, like vampires, teaching new vampires to be careful about fully draining a life and what you would experience if that happens. Like it's really interesting, and it's kind of the same theme overall. Like it's damaging to that person's mental health. I love the line that says Perrin doesn't know if he died or if Hopper did,
Right.
because at that point they were one.
One thing I find kind of funny in the chapter is like when Egwene is comforting Perrin when they're hiding, and she's like, "Will you dance with me if we get back home in time for Sunday?" Like, girl, you know you have no plans on going back to Emmons Field. If you survive this, you're gonna go to Tarvalon. That's your plan. Why are you lying to him?
You know, that I think honestly, we know Robert Jordan was a veteran, right? Okay, I'm not mixing up my authors, sorry. Robert Jordan was a veteran. He had seen battle, and I think that he was pulling that line from a battle experience, because you see that referenced in like other movies and films and even memoirs, where like they get into a moment where they could possibly die, and so they start either making jokes, which is a coping mechanism, or dreaming of home and a normal part of life, which is also a coping mechanism. And I think Robert Jordan was pulling that at least a little bit from like real life experience.
Probably.
Yeah. The type of things that you can do when you get home, when you are fairly sure that you're not even going to get home.
Right. When I get home, first thing I'm going to do is have a chocolate shake and propose to my girl, that kind of thing. And I think that's kind of where Egwene was in that moment. That's what I understood it as, anyway.
The fact that they smelled like the way that rabid dogs smell, terrifying. What is that?
Yeah,
What does that mean? Because
yeah.
rabies is horrible. What rabies does to things that are infected with rabies is horrible. Why do you smell like that?
And there's something wrong with their minds.
That's the closest thing a wolf has to compare it to.
The fanaticism, the feverishness, perhaps,
Yeah.
the zeal.
Yep.
Yeah, it oh, and I did, I did like how Bayar is talking about the horses and how they were hamstrung and how he sounded more outraged about that than about the humans. And I was like, he should be, because the horses didn't ask to be there. it is worse.
Right.
The horses were there because you bitches were there.
Right.
See,
So,
unfortunately, you're ascribing a level of empathy to Bayar that is not there. Bayar is more upset about the loss of resources.
well, yeah, that makes sense. Me personally, my reasoning was
Yes.
like, yeah, I agree with him, but for a different
A,
reason.
a normal good person would be upset for that reason.
Yeah,
Bayar is just like, well, now our progress is hindered because we don't have remounts.
right. And like that makes sense. And I wasn't ascribing like I don't think that I did. It's just that I was like, I agree with what he's saying, but for an entirely different reason. Because I'm not Satan in a white cloak.
I like it, I think it gets kind of glossed over with everything else that's in the chapter. But Egwene asking Perrin how the hell he can see. And Perrin absolutely not realizing that it was full dark out. Like, bro's got dark vision.
It's the furry powers.
Yep,
Exactly.
something has changed within him. Something is not the same.
Stop it. Stop that right now. Stop that right now. Because you know who defied gravity? Hopper. One last time. Stop that. That's what you get.
Damn it. I walked right into it.
You hopped into it.
Oh. It hurts. I'm laughing, but it hurts.
Actually, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm done. We're done here.
So, at least one possible good outcome, though. They do have a direct escort to Camelin now.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like I wrote at the very end. I noted I was like, it would be so funny if this is how they all get reunited in Camelin, because they're all going there anyway. But like that would be so funny.
And
That would be funny. But
we
sorry, go
also
ahead.
know that Moiraine changed plans and decided to go toward Perrin.
Which is where what I was about to say comes in. When they gave the belongings back, did he give the Tarvalin coin back too?
Did not specify.
It
Right.
doesn't say. Yeah.
So I am assuming he did. And based on that assumption, I was about to say, you know, even if he doesn't give it back, Moraine now knows the direction that he's in. And probably knows to just keep going that way.
Well, I wonder because
Even
it
if
was
she
like
couldn't track
once,
it.
yeah, once Matt and Rand gave up custody of the coins to Doman, she said that connection was lost. So now that it's changed hands, can she still use it to track him, or does it just have to be in proximity to him and she can still track the coin itself? I don't know that she can because she doesn't
Right,
mention
it's not
anything
clear.
about Doman. Yeah, she doesn't mention anything about the coins traveling because they would be going up the Arenal still, and she would know that. But I don't know that she said. So I'm not sure how the tracking works.
Is it maybe because they willingly handed it over, whereas it was just kind of removed from Perrin's possession?
Right. And that's again why I asked if it was part of the possessions given back to him, then it wasn't really taken from him. So if he got it back, I feel like the bond should still be there.
Possibly.
Because if just not having it on your person for any length of time would sever it, then anytime they
Right.
got undressed to go to bed, that link
Right.
would have severed. I
Right.
don't think they're keeping their coin purses on them every time they go to sleep, especially like maybe on the road, but like the times they've been able to stay in inns and stuff,
Right,
probably not.
Mhm.
exactly. So I think that if it got back to them, the bond would, at least in parents' case. With the boys willingly giving theirs up, Matt and Rand, I don't know. But I think in parents' case, if he got it back, the bond would,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is again a very interesting point on is she going to be able to follow that all the way to Camelin?
One more question for you, Flint. What do you think it is the White Cloaks are in such a hurry to get to Camelin for? He said we have to get there in time.
Yeah. Is it not for the procession of Logain? Like, if I had to think about it, that's what I assume would be going on because I know that they're parading him. So, and they were going to stop in Camelin. I don't know that I've heard any other or seen
I
any
mean,
other hints.
that's a logical enough conclusion.
I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. But if that's the case, are they going there to try watch? Are they going to try and take Logain from the witches, as they call them? Because you know how they feel about the
That's what I
Asha,
would
about
assume.
the
Yeah.
Or do they want to
right,
just take a cheap shot and nab some Aes Sedai while they
right,
know they're going to be there?
right.
Yeah. That's
Or a little bit of everything, right? They could be trying to do a little bit of everything. Who knows? Let's steal Logain from them and a couple of them while we're at it.
that's what I would assume is the plan there.
They're children. I don't think they're going there just to watch.
Mm-mm.
They've got some sort of bullshit up their sleeves.
Right.
Don't they always?
Full of bullshittery.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, and another thing about fucking Bornhold, Joffrem, I hate him. Uh the gall, like, not only would he not believe them even if Perrin told him the whole truth, um, but knowing the whole truth like we do, how galling to be accused of the one thing that Perrin gave up his entire life to escape.
Yep.
I hate him. I hate him. I don't care how nice he looks, how grandfatherly he seems. I hate him. I want his head on a pike. I don't care. I hate his guts. I hate all of them. And he's just so sure that he's right. He's smug, he's smarmy, and I hate him.
I don't remember if we were introduced to this previously or not when we first met them, but have the questioners been mentioned before now?
Yes,
Okay, I couldn't
because
remember.
they threatened to take Moraine,
Oh, that's right.
um, and then she becomes Godzilla.
Yes,
Right,
that's right.
yes. That was when they mentioned them.
Yes, I could not remember if they had been. I assumed they would because it's like it feels like already it's probably one of their favorite things to bring up. But I was like, yeah, did they mention the questioners before? Should we discuss this? We've
Mhm.
already discussed it.
Yeah, yeah, because we talked about the Spanish Inquisition.
What do you guys think about like Bornhald's comment on zealotry? Because that's really what makes him stand out the most from other, like as far as I can think of so far, every other child we've met.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, how'd he get so high in rank?
Well, I think you can be zealous without being fanatical. And so I think that the thing that makes him more palatable is that he doesn't seem as fanatic about his belief in the righteousness of what they do.
Yeah,
There's still no compromise. There's no
right,
consideration of anything else. It's just that he's not immediately ready to kill, a teenager because he talked back. You know what I
right.
mean? So that makes him seem more palatable, and because I assume he has lots of experience, that's why because he's been doing it for as long as he has, however long that is. That's why he's Lord Captain, one of
Fair.
the anointed, presumably, if anointed is like an officer corps or something.
It sounds like.
um
I'm not sure if that's it or if anyone who joins the children is anointed. I can't recall what the structure is.
I don't remember how deeply we get into it either. I know we get some touching on it in much later books, but I don't know how deeply that goes off the top of my head.
But yeah, specifically what he said was zeal is to be applauded, but overzealousness can be a grievous fault. And then from there, he goes into no man is so far in the shadow that he can't be brought back to the light. So
mhm,
it seems like, where Bayar and a lot of the children simply want to purge the shadow,
mhm.
Bornhold at least has a sense of the possibility of redemption.
Right.
Right.
If not redemption, at least conversion.
Right. Which is his own zeal and dedication
Yeah.
to the mission, right? His own zeal for the mission of the Children of the Light, which again is like it's ironclad as far as we can tell. He doesn't question anything. So he believes that all people can come back to the light, and therefore he's going to go get them and
Yeah.
bring them. Right. That missionary impulse is still entirely present. It's like the bedrock.
Meanwhile, Bayar seems like, anyone who sneezes in his general vicinity, he'll condemn as a dark friend.
Yeah,
Right.
take him or leave him. Yeah, he does. Cause it is Joffrem who asks the I expect you don't know much about the Anointed or about Lord's Captain of the Children of the Light. So I guess maybe Anointed is just any term for any white cloak. I just assumed it was,
I mean,
you know,
yeah, I
because
really
Bayer
can't.
refers to him as an anointed. So I don't know. Because Bayer does just say an anointed of the light. So maybe it is just, you know,
Let me do some searching.
to the internet.
Will and I are allowed to do this. You're not.
Okay.
I think Will just found what I just found.
There is the Council of the Anointed, which is the name for the ruling council of the Children of the Light, and is presided over by the Lord Captain Commander. So I guess, yeah, they are just.
What I'm seeing is anointed are high ranking officers and council members of the White Cloaks.
The Anointed are approximately 12 of the most favored or highly ranked Lord Captains, or the High Inquisitor, and the High Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, so it's like all anointed are Lord's Captain, but not all Lord's Captain are anointed.
Right. And I guess the High Inquisitor just gets in there by default.
Yeah.
Oh, last thing is Elias knows that Perrin is upset about something that he was thinking about Egwene, and he says, "A blind man can read your face. Clock him. Clock it."
Oh, yeah. Also,
Yes.
I left this out in trying to condense that as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Perrin being like, "Can you read my mind like the wolves can?"
No,
I
no, babe.
guess I guess this is confirmation that the telepathy doesn't go from wolf brother to wolf brother. It has to go
Mm-mm.
through the
You're
wolves.
right.
Yeah,
So
they're all communing together. Yeah, must be. It was really funny. Okay. Clock his tea.
Perrin absolutely busted.
Right. Like, babe, you're not subtle.
Are any of the boys though? Like,
No. But they're all convinced that everybody else is.
I
right,
mean,
right.
to be fair,
Because
neither
no one
are
teaches
Egwene
them
and
how to be men.
Nynaeve.
What did you I heard both of you at
I said,
once.
to be fair, neither are Egwene and Nynaeve.
That's true. What did you say, Alex?
I said, and I said, but also no one teaches them how to be men. So,
True.
so to wrap up this chapter, kill all White Cloaks.
Yeah. No, I do have one more thing. Where the fuck is Bella? Where did she go? Don't do this to
Oh,
I
me.
was waiting for
Don't
that.
play with me right now. Don't play with me. Where is she? Don't piss me off.
you didn't find out.
I know, I know. I know that I will eventually. I just want to know right now
I
because
was
I don't
about
like
to
it.
say, Will, if you say it, I think Flint's gonna reach through this recording and strangle you.
No, no, no. No, I know. And I assume that I will find out. But as of right now, I don't know and I don't like it. I need to know where she's at all times. Thank you.
See,
She's
you're
carrying the entire book on her back. We have to know.
Bella needs a magical air tag.
That's true.
yes. Give her a Tarvalin mark. Like weave it into her mane, Jack Sparrow style, so she just doesn't lose it. So my chapter is chapter 31, and this chapter is titled "Play for Your Supper." The icon chapter is a new one, I believe. I'm pretty sure I went through them all and did not see it. It's a sword hilt, and the sword's pointed downwards. It is the heron marked sword representing blade masters, which ultimately, in my opinion, is a weird one for this particular chapter, but it is what it is. So we come back to Matt and Rand as they're traveling a dry, dusty road. dust trails several bends in the road up ahead, encouraging them to dip into a dense hedgerow to hide them. A gust of wind kicks up a cloud of dirt so thick that Rand pulls a dark scarf over his mouth and nose. The scarf, filthy from use by now, was given to him by a kind old farmer. I don't know what you're running from, he had said with an anxious frown, and I don't want to, you understand, my family. Abruptly, the farmer had dug 2 long scarves out of his coat pocket and pushed the tangle of wool at them. It's not much, but here. Belong to my boys. They have others. You don't know me, understand? It's hard times. Rand treasured the scarf and added it to the small list of kindnesses they had experienced since leaving Whitebridge, the town and the bridge. As Matt moves through the hedgerow, pulling branches and things to let them pass through, Rand considers using his heron blade. But the last time he'd used it to slice through, the hole nearly gave them away. Checking the dust trail again, closer now and bigger, meaning it was not caused by the wind, Rand thinks that at least it's not raining. Not because of the wet or the mud, but because rain settled the dust and being able to see those dust trails helped keep them safe. Matt calls them over, showing him a hole cut in the hedge sometime in the past and partially grown over. They hide in it as 7 horsemen with swords and spears dressed as mercenaries ride past. One of the riders glances directly at the opening of their hiding place as they ride. The boys, though, are ready. Rand bears an inch of his blade and Matt clutches the ruby-studded dagger. He always clutched the dagger when they were in danger. Rand didn't know if it was to protect himself or the dagger, but he observes that Matt often seems to forget that he even has a bow. They wait as the riders pass until the sound of the hooves is gone before they emerge. Not after us, Rand said in a half-question, half-statement. Matt replies, maybe, while looking up and down the road. After they first fled Whitebridge, Rand would find himself looking over his shoulder, thinking he saw Tom in the distance coming up behind them, but it never was, just farmers and peddlers with packs. The road itself was quite busy, most people traveling to Camelin like them, and occasionally they got lucky enough to hitch a ride with a farmer for a few miles. But mostly they walked. They avoided horseback riders entirely, hiding in case it were a fade. Again, it never was. The first village after Whitebridge looked so much like Edmund's Field that Rand's steps dragged when he saw it. Thatched roofs with high peaks and goodwives with their aprons gossiping over the fences between their houses, and the children playing on the village green. The women's hair hung unbraided around their shoulders, and other small things were different too, but the whole together was like home. Cows cropped on the green, the geese waddled self-importantly across the road, the children tumbled, laughing in the dust where the grass was gone altogether. They did not even look around when Rand and Matt went by. That was another thing that was different. Strangers were no oddity there. 2 more did not draw so much as a second glance. Village dogs only raised their head to sniff as he and Matt passed, and none stirred themselves. They did not stop in this village. It was still too close to Whitebridge. They went on, sleeping in some bushes they found after dark, or trying to sleep. Rand woke often from the memories of what happened, and Matt was muttering in his sleep. Between them, they had a few coins for a meal or two, but a bed was out of the question. They often made do with their cloaks on the hard ground and a meal of water from a stream or such. One afternoon, Rand mentioned selling Matt's dagger, and Matt stopped walking and went off on Rand. Why are you so anxious to sell it? Matt demanded angrily. I found it, after all. You ever think I might like to keep it? For a while, anyway. If you want to sell something, sell that bloody sword. Rand rubbed his hand along the heron-marked hilt. My father gave this sword to me. It was his. I wouldn't ask you to sell something your father gave you. Blood and ashes, Matt. Do you like going hungry? Anyway, even if I could find someone to buy it, how much would a sword bring? What would a farmer want with a sword? That ruby would fetch enough to take us all the way to Camelin in a carriage, maybe all the way to Tarvalon, and we'd eat every meal at an inn, and sleep every night in a bed. Maybe you like the idea of walking halfway across the world and sleeping on the ground? He glared at Matt, and his friend glared back. They stared each other down before Matt sighed and asked who he'd even sell it to. Rand acknowledged that he was right and apologized, saying he was hungry and his feet hurt. Matt said his hurt too, and they went on. They had tried a few farms for meals and beds, a haystack being rather warm compared to bushes. After one experience of attempting to steal eggs and being chased down by farm dogs for hours, Rand decided that though he didn't like it, he preferred to approach farmhouses openly and in broad daylight. They had a mixed bag of results. Some sending the dogs on them right away, but others would have them do chores for a meal and a place to sleep for the night. The problem was that the hours spent doing chores were hours that the Fade could use to catch up to them, and the longer it would take them to get to Camelin. At one farm, Matt started to express paranoia about the old couple that hired them to muck out the stalls. He didn't see why they should be so nice to them. Rand defended them, stating that the wife said they reminded her of their grandsons, but Matt insisted they were up to something. When the boys finished their work and approached the house, the farmer met them at the door, leaning on his quarterstaff. He had apparently forgotten that all 4 of their big, strong sons were coming to visit that night, and they didn't have the bed he'd initially promised. The wife thrust a small bundle of food, enough for maybe 2 meals each, at them, her face clearly asking them to go. Rand, understanding, took the bundle and thanked them, taking Matt and turning to leave with no trouble. The farmer still shouted after them not to come back, and he didn't want to see their shifty eyes again. Matt nearly turned around and went for his quiver, but Rand stopped him. As they traveled, Matt grew more suspicious of others. Meals also got skimpier for the same work they had done probably a day or two before at other farms. Sometimes the barn wasn't even offered as a place to sleep. And then they met Master Grinwell, his wife, and their 9 children. Master Grinwell probably had no need for more help, but was kind enough to find work for them. Mistress Grinwell insisted on washing their filthy clothing before they ate at her table, giving them some of her husband's old spares in the meantime. And in that moment, she looked to Rand like Mistress Alvere, though with yellow hair instead of dark. Rand had never seen hair that color before, and her manner even eased some of Matt's tension. Their eldest daughter, Elsie, only a year or so younger than them, was an entirely different story. Dark-haired, big-eyed, and pretty, Elsie grinned impudently at them whenever her parents were not looking. While they worked, moving barrels and sacks of grain in the barn, she hung over a stall door, humming to herself and chewing the end of one long pigtail, watching them. Rand she watched especially. He tried to ignore her, but after a few minutes he put on the shirt Master Grinwell had loaned him. It was tight across his shoulders and too short, but it was better than nothing. Elsie laughed out loud when he tugged it on. He began to think that this time it would not be Matt's fault when they were chased off. Once again, Rand thought about how Perrin would know what to do, that he'd make a comment that'd have her laughing instead of mooning around. She'd made comments about liking tall men and how all the ones at the farms around there were short. And she smiled at Rand in a way that had him convinced that had her father saw, he'd have set the dogs on them. The younger children eased Matt's tension, though. And that night after work and supper, Matt took out the colored balls and started juggling for them. The whole family enjoyed Matt's show of figure eights and fountains, all applauding when he finished. Rand then took out Tom's flute, and with a jovial mood in the room, he played 3 girls in the meadow. The parents clapped along as the youngest children danced. Rand knew he would win no prizes in a contest, but after Tom's teaching, he wouldn't be embarrassed to enter one either. As the song ended, Elsie leaned forward and with a long sigh and smile said, "You play so beautiful. I've never heard anything so beautiful." Mistress Grinwell stopped in her mending at this, raising an eyebrow at her daughter before giving Rand an appraising look. Rand suddenly feared she might accuse him of trifling with her daughter. He returned the flute to his lips and played as many songs as he could think of. "The Wind That Shakes the Willow," "Coming Home from Tarwin's Gap," "Mistress and Nora's Rooster," and "The Old Black Bear." Mistress Grinwell never said anything. She just watched and weighed. It was late when Master Grinwell rose and said they all needed to sleep. He complimented their entertainment, stating he'd paid for worse at inns. Mistress Grinwell picked up her youngest, who'd fallen asleep, and said they should be rewarded. Instead of the barn, she deemed that the boys will sleep in Elsie's room, and Elsie will sleep with her. Elsie grimaced at this, careful to keep her head down. But Rand saw it, and he was sure her mother had as well. Master Grinwell agreed with his wife, then went on to say he'd like to hear more of the playing and see more of the juggling. And about to suggest they stay and help another day, his wife interrupted him, saying that they would need an early start to walk all day to the next village, where they probably wanted to try their luck at the inn. Rand agreed and thanked her. She gave him a tight-lipped smile that said she understood exactly what he was thanking her for. The next day, as they walked, Matt gave Rand a bunch of shit about Elsie, but Rand worked real hard to change the subject, discussing the idea of playing at inns. When they reached the next town, they gave the innkeeper a sample of what they could do, the end result being a warm bed and a dinner of roasted potatoes and hot beef. They'd been put in the smallest room, but it was still a room and a bed, and Rand had the best sleep he'd had since leaving Whitebridge. In the morning, after failing to convince the boys to stay and play for the inn, the innkeeper got them a ride with a farmer who'd been far too hammered to drive home the night before. Their travels improved after this. They were usually able to reach the next town within a day and were able to negotiate food and a bed for playing. The more inns, the better the results as the innkeepers would bid for them. While not being close to a true gleeman, they were still more entertainment than most places saw in a year, and everybody wanted them to play for them. Come morning, a farmer or a merchant was always willing to offer them a ride for a time. Rand began to think their problems were over till they reached Camelin. But then they came to Four Kings. And that is the end of the chapter.
I forgot, even though it's one of the first things we learned about him, I forgot that Rand is like super hot. I forgot. I forgot that his milkshake brings the girls to the yard. I forgot. So to then have this set in there, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, he's literally just here. Well, that is just a man. I say as though I'm not like a rabid homosexual. Whatever. Like, I get it. It was extremely funny.
I'm over here
It was
like,
extremely funny to me.
Elsie, let the poor boy work.
And then
Elsie
put on
Grinwell,
right.
icon, legend.
And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
I love that her mom clocks her so goddamn fast. That woman knows her daughter.
Amanda's like, please help me. And she's like, I got it.
She knew exactly what Rand was thanking her for.
It's so funny because he's like not into it at all. He's like, please.
He makes it abundantly clear because he was in the process of putting the flute away.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately was like, nope.
Right. And he put the shirt on while they were working. Please. And it's like a crop top. Babe, that doesn't help. That doesn't help.
I absolutely pictured, oh God, who was it? Why am I fucking blanking? The X-Men character that Channing Tatum played.
Oh, is it Gambit?
Gambit?
Yes. Yeah, Gambit from the new X-Men cartoon when everyone was freaking out because he was wearing that pink crop top.
Oh, yes.
That's basically how I pictured this shirt on him.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny. Oh my God.
I love that she's like sitting there like just chewing on her hair.
I love it. It's really funny.
Fun fact.
Oh my God.
Another first-time reader podcast that's pretty big in the fandom called Wheel Takes. Every year they do a poll tournament called the Grinwell Cup, named after Elsie Grinwell, for the fandom to determine the hottest character in the series.
That's so valid.
It's always a good time.
I love that. Yeah, I know. I could have done with a break, to be quite honest. This was a nice little break.
It is. Yeah. It is.
Matt is being a fucking asshole.
Like, dude, first of all, the dagger's not yours. You took it. So let's get that clear. You very much did steal it.
You took it from it's not yours. Ancient and angry magical entity. Let's just get that out of the way.
So, like, it's not the same. It's not the same thing. But I was like, ooh, the girls are fighting. And then Rand was like, I'm sorry. It's just that I'm hungry and my feet hurt. I was like, me at work, actually. That's when I'm like, when I get snippy, I'm like, I'm sorry. My feet hurt and I'm hungry.
Rand only said that because he just wanted to end the argument. He knew something's
Well,
wrong with
maybe.
that dagger and wants it gone. At least that's how I think of it, because that's the kind of response I would have said to my sister to get her to shut the fuck up.
I don't even know if Rand is necessarily conscious that there's something wrong with the dagger, but it's probably like tickling at him somewhere.
Probably. He's really noticing there's something wrong with Matt.
Yeah.
And that the dagger is always like in or close to Matt's hand.
He's going full Gollum over it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is sad. My heart did break a little bit every time they go somewhere and Rand is just, one place is as good as another when you aren't from anywhere. Babe,
Yeah.
you are. You are from somewhere. And like I get that there's like the genealogy, the true parentage or whatever, but I'm like, Tim is the only father you've ever known. He's your dad. That's
Right.
okay. It is the truth.
Right.
It's
He's
not
his
he's
father.
nobody's lying to you. Nobody's lying to you about that.
Right.
He raised you. You
That's
were
your father.
raised in the Two Rivers. That's where you're from. But it's not, it doesn't serve whatever, wherever he came from, wherever Tam found him, I guess, and his mother. But
It
yeah,
doesn't make
it
him
just made me
feel
feel
any
sad.
less emo.
Right. Right. And as a teenager who was also very emo, I do understand. I do get it. But it does make me very sad for him. Like, babe, it's not, you have a family. You
Right.
do. And he loves you. And you have a home. That's where you're from.
Back to Matt being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking every time they get something good going for him, he starts acting all shifty,
Yep.
and then they're shooed away
Yeah, they get run out with the dogs.
because Matt is he's suspicious of them, so then he's looking all suspicious, and then they're like, "You're suspicious, go away."
Right.
Right.
He's sketchy as fuck.
Like when he's like, oh, he's up to something, he wouldn't meet our eyes. Probably because you were looking sus yourself, Matt.
Probably because you had your hand on a knife
Right.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Glaring daggers at him.
Literal daggers.
Nice. I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
I
That was
could
clever.
not help it. It's right there.
Yeah, no, this chapter, I think, was the first real chapter on my first read through that I was like, I fucking hate Matt.
That's valid. It seems like it seems like he wants to sabotage the entire undertaking.
It I felt in at the time that Matt was just being a huge fucking baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I remember one other thing I wanted to bring up about the last chapter, and if I forget again, I'm going to be really mad at myself.
Do it.
Okay. At the beginning of the chapter, when Egwene's like, we're supposed to be safe, right?
Yep.
Matt said the same fucking thing, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that.
Yep.
In that moment, I'm like, Matt was letting his guard down much earlier than Egwene was, but it's the same fucking sentiment. Matt was very angry and upset that all of a sudden they were no longer safe again. And now Egwene is too. And I think that was really, really interesting, considering she is almost always scolding him and how different they are in general. That they have like something like that fear and that worry brought them to like. And that's what I forgot to bring up.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's because up to this point, Egwene's adventure has been an adventure, and now she's hunted. You know, so now she's hunted like Perrin and Rad and Matt are.
Yeah.
And so it's not fun anymore.
Right.
You find in an adventure, you find a place to rest and everything is fine, and the little jingle plays, and then it's the daytime, and then you can go. Right? Little Final Fantasy type beat, right? That not so here. You're hunted now. So there's no happy little quiet time. It's just now here you are.
Yeah.
And when you're hunted, and somebody has the means and the resources and the will to find you, there's nowhere you can go. So no, I get it.
Yeah, I just thought it was something interesting I noticed, and then us talking about Matt finally reminded me that I had meant to bring that up.
Yeah. Mm. Also, in your chapter here, when Elsie is really like getting to Rand, and he says Perrin would know how to handle this, babe.
Do we need to go back an episode?
Who are
Because
we talking about? Are we talking about the same Perrin? And why is Perrin saying the same thing about Rand? What is this? What?
it is my favorite joke in the entire series. It's the best
Like
joke.
it's such a good bit. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the same dudes? The same guys? All we do is watch them flop with women.
They're all convinced the others are such smooth operators.
I want to know how. What convinced them of this? How did they
It's
all get this idea? Did Will Alcine lie to all of them too? Hey,
I don't know.
Karen, your buddy Rand's real good with the girls. I'd watch out for him. You know what I mean? Just go around and lie to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Well,
only
it's
to turn them on each other for his own amusement.
maybe. But it's the thing that's like Perrin mistakes the fact that Rand attracts attention from girls as Rand being good with women. And I guess the fact that Perrin is not like a douche of a man, even though he very well could be around women, convinces Rand that Perrin knows how to act around women,
At
which
least,
is which
at
is
least
not what's happening.
Karen is not constantly angering the women.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
probably where Rand
Yeah.
gets it from. Yeah.
Yeah, Perrin knows how to not make women angry at him, I guess. And so Rand is like, wow, he's like a genius. He knows how to handle women.
Perrin
Babe.
would make an offhanded comment that made her laugh and she'd stop mooning around. No, the fuck he would not. He would say something by accident that would seem like it was on purpose.
No, Perrin would say something he had thought about for 30 minutes,
Right.
perfecting, before
Right.
finally saying.
Oh, he's just like me for real.
But because he took so long, it's no longer pertinent to whatever conversation it is, so it's still offhanded to everyone else.
Right.
He is just like me for real.
Perrin would know what to do. It's actually is far funnier to me. Perrin would know what to do than Rand would know what to do. And I don't know why it's funnier to me that way.
I can
I think it's
see
because of
someone.
how docile Perrin is that like the
Yeah.
idea is almost absurd, right? I don't know what it is about it, but Perrin would know what to do. It's just funnier to me.
I can see someone thinking that Rand is smooth because he's had a thing with Egwene forever.
Right.
As awkward as we know it was between them from Rand's point of view, from the outside looking in, I can see how people would be like, yeah, he knows how to talk to women. He's been with Egwene his whole life. But Perrin, like, what women does Perrin talk to? His master's wife?
Right.
Egwene's mom? Like
And Egwene.
Nynaeve on occasion?
Yeah, but
When he
only
got burned at the forge and needed a salve?
right.
Yeah. No, it's it's funny to me every single time. And every single time they say it or think it, I will point it out because it's so funny to
It
me.
needs to be pointed out every
Great.
time.
Who are we talking about? These cannot be the same dudes that I've been
Right.
watching scramble and flounder and flail. Perrin saw women dancing and moving their hips and literally couldn't even speak. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Meanwhile, Rand enraged the woman that everyone assumed he would marry so badly that she stopped speaking to him.
For like weeks.
Weeks.
Like, what are we talking about? This can't be the same people. No, it's really funny.
Okay, to be fair, I don't think. No, I take that back. Never mind. Nope, scratch that. I'm taking that back.
Okay.
There's no point in even saying it. I was gonna say I don't think Perrin would have enraged her that much, but he already did after they got to the Tuathawan, so it doesn't matter. I'm wrong. Mark
Yeah.
that one for the history books. Scorpio admitting she's wrong.
May 31st, 2026, 6:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's also a blue moon. It is a blue
Oh.
moon tonight.
Once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon.
We got it. You heard it here first, folks.
Weeks later.
Hooray.
Yeah, but no, that joke is such a good joke. And no spoilers, but we see it throughout the whole series. I love it.
Good.
It does
Every
not
single
go
time
away.
it's funny.
It does not. It's
Every
never
time
not
it's
funny.
funny.
It's never not funny.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't go away. I love it.
I miss Tom, and Rand does too.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Seeing, that was sad. Constantly hoping and wishing that what he was seeing traveling behind him was Tom. But no, a backpack peddler or some farmers on their cart, and that is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking.
I was gonna say, you mentioned you weren't sure why the chapter icon was the sword. I guess only because it got brought up in conversation about selling it.
And maybe the use
But
of it for cutting the hole and then like protecting themselves when they drop back, like that's the only thing I can really
I
think
was
of.
also thinking, like, they should have made the chapter icon the heart, but just to give us false hope for a
Oh my
second.
god.
That would be so
Cruel
mean.
and inhumane. But also I want to mention this point. So the chapter icon, the sword, the handmark sword, has two versions. And basically, the only difference is so it's the square background, but in The Dragon Reborn, which is what, the third
Third
book?
book.
I remembered. I was like third or fourth. No, it's third. The square background and the whole icon itself is elongated. Like that's the only difference. And it doesn't specify if they use that elongated version after the Dragon Reborn, but I do think it's interesting that there are two versions, and really the only difference is because it's not just the background, the hilt of the sword is elongated as well. So in the original chapter icon, like the tip of the heron comes really really close to like the pommel, and in the Dragon Reborn version, like that distance is more than doubled. Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe they just updated the design.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
and
do
again,
that
it
sometimes.
doesn't say if it's used beyond that. It just specifies it's used in that book. So something interesting to.
Yeah, kind of like how they after this book they update the trefoil leaf
Yeah,
design.
yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Move on.
Okay. Here we go. All right, chapter 32 is called Four Kings in Shadow, and the chapter icon again is the dragon's fang. Presumably, this chapter will have something to do with drawing attention, good or bad. The dragon's fang, to my understanding, is both an accusation and a spotlight, after all. Matt and Rand have arrived in a village called Four Kings, which is a direct continuation from the end of the last chapter. It's a dingy place, run through by the Camelin Road, of course, but that's not the only major thoroughfare here. The village survives as a stopping point for merchants on their way to Camelin and to mining towns in the Mountains of Mist. Location matters, which is why this place is still so lively. There are plots of bare earth everywhere for carriages and stables and horse lots besides, with deep ruts in the ground from so many wheels always coming and going. Children play in these ruts, dodging wagons and wagoneers. Women walk quickly, heads covered and faces down, but that doesn't stop the men traveling through from being absolutely disgusting towards them. Kill them, actually. There are no gossips here, Rand notices, no wide open spaces for children to play. Just drab houses stacked almost on top of each other, heavy shutters rusted shut. In spite of the village's roughness, or perhaps this is part of the roughness, it's a raucous place. Blacksmiths, wagoneers, and inn patrons all contribute to the cacophony. The boys jump down from the wagon they'd been riding on in front of an inn, and Rand is immediately off put by the entire vibe of this place. I get it, dude. This place has a rancid energy to me, and I'm not even there, and also it's not even a real place. Matt isn't so easily dissuaded, however, and he wants to avoid being outside in the storm that's brewing, so into the inn they go. This inn has musicians already, unfortunately, as do the next two. Every place is full to bursting with music and patrons trying to grope the serving women, who just grin and bear it, but not me. Kill them all, actually. But the fourth inn they see, the dancing cartman, is silent, its paint peeling, though no less gaudily colored for it. Inside are 6 men and 6 servers, the men with their heads in their mugs and the women with their heads in the fucking cobwebs, cleaning the stump. A man appears and demands to know what they want, and Rand notes that this might be the first skinny innkeeper he's ever seen. Rand, babe, you can't fucking say that about people. Oh my god. Anyway, when the innkeeper demands an explanation, an order, or a speedy evacuation, Rand begins his spiel, telling the man that he plays the flute and that Matt juggles, and they'll fill up his common room for a room and a meal. The innkeeper replies that he's got a guy who plays the dulcimer, which is not a flute, by the way, so who fucking cares? And then a maid passing by responds that the guy in question is a drunkard who she hasn't even seen in 2 days. Giggles all around, except for then the innkeeper, whose name we now know is Samuel Hake, backhands her hard enough to send her to the floor without taking his eyes off of the boys. He tells her next that he'll dock her pay for the spilled wine and broken mug as a result of her fall and to get fresh drinks. Kill him, actually. Blue Skidoo, I'm fucking coming for you. Hake offers a couple of pallets in an empty storeroom and dinner after everyone who's come to see them has left. Rand would like to be literally anywhere else. Me too, bud. But he sees that Matt has no intention of leaving and replies that they'll eat 2 hours after full dark and not leftover scraps. He begins to bring the flute out to demonstrate, but Hake stops him and says it doesn't matter really what they sound like as long as it sounds enough like music. He tells them they'd better bring a crowd or they'll go out in the storm, and then nods to his 2 bouncers. Rand matches energy, which, good for him, putting his hand on his sword hilt and saying that Hake will get what he asks for if they get what they ask for. Hake is shooketh and agrees, and tells them to get started. Rand wonders if he should keep showing the sword off, but it keeps getting him what he wants, so to be honest, I think he's fine. Let these bitches know what the fuck is up. He also wants to keep wearing it, so he has a connection to Tam, as though Tam isn't the only father he's ever known, like I just said. They get set up and Rand begins to play. He's good. He's good enough, and everyone, even the bouncers, applaud, just as they do for Matt's juggling. Word spreads, and sure enough, the dancing cartman is packed with men making so much noise that Rand can barely hear himself play. Whenever he stops, requests come shouting up from the din. Many of them have new names to him, but once he hears some that he finds, he does know them, so he keeps playing. Others want more juggling, and an actual knife fight happens about it because these dudes are drunk and wet and tired and insane. The fighters and everyone involved get bounced right the fuck out immediately, and everyone acts like this is normal, which I guess it is for this town. It's also normal for men to grope the servers, because apparently they've decided they only need one hand from now on. I'm coming for your hands, and I'm coming for your throats. The women do get rescued from the harassment, though Hake shakes them and yells as though he thinks it's their fault. Kill him. He smiles at the boys, but Rand notices that he's actually looking at the sword and the flute, so he knows that Hake is planning to rob them. Matt seems unsurprised, but at least wants to wait until after they eat to leave, if they even will, because the storm is here and it's roaring outside. Rand begins to play again, a song he's already played 4 times, but they keep requesting it, so he keeps playing it. Matt had also pointed out that Hake and his bouncers couldn't really do anything with a common room full of people, which is true. For every guy they throw out, it says, 2 more come shouting for music and juggling, but also just wanting to drink and feel up women without their consent. Kill them. Off with their hands, off with their heads. I'm being entirely serious. There is one man, though, who seems uninterested in any of the inn's usual entertainments. Merchants didn't come into the dancing cartman at all, but this man was. Soft hands, covered in velvet from head to toe, he came in after dark and scanned the room before turning to leave. However, he stops himself and then sits down at a recently cleared table. He's given wine that he refuses, and with a single glance he scares away anybody who tries to share his table. Through it all, he watches Matt and Rand with a smile of satisfied recognition. Who the fuck is this guy? He seems familiar to them, but they can't place him, and so they keep performing. After 2 hours, they put their things away to eat, and Hake seems like he might throw them out instead, but Rand points out that there's a lot of night left, and they need their energy to keep playing. Hake does acquiesce, roaring to the cook to feed them before telling them not to take too long. He expects them to play until the room is empty. The boys go into the kitchen, a big room full of heat and steam, food and women, all chattering with the cook and rubbing their feet. We're made aware that Rand and Matt entering the kitchen does not stop their talk or their foot rubbing. Robert Jordan to the front of the class. Why does this only happen in my chapters? Rand really wants to go now, but Matt sits down and begins shoveling food into his mouth. And Rand realizes that he had sleep for dinner last night and butt bread before that, so he starts eating too. Though nowhere near as fast as Matt, who's getting his plate refilled before Rand has even finished half. As they eat, the women continue talking, including about the man in all the velvet. Apparently, he stopped at about half the inns in town before that one, walking in, looking around, and walking out. He also didn't even get to the village until after night had fallen, and his horses looked like they'd been worked quite hard. He also came with 2 carriages. One of the servers says that he's a little plump for her tastes, but a man can't be too fat if enough gold comes with it. Exactly, girl. Get money, make his pockets hurt. Period. Rand is struck by a thought, however, and goes to check if he can see the man's carriages in the stables. He does find them, and he sees that they're covered in black lacquer, with the name in gold script. I think it's Howell Goad. Rand at last remembers where he's seen coaches like that, and men dressed all in velvet. Whitebridge, the town, not the bridge. The Winnie merchant might just be on their way to from the same place Rand and Matt had come from, and going to the same destination they are. The fact that he'd stopped at so many inns before picking the one they happen to be in is suspicious. The way that he keeps smiling at them like a villain is also quite fucking suspicious. Rand makes his way to go back inside, but one of the bouncers is in the doorway, warning about the dangers of the dark. Rand asks if Hake has decided that everybody's there for the wine instead of the performances, because if so, they'll leave right fucking now, just like Rand has wanted to do this entire time. The bouncer replies that he and the other bouncer have a bet, either that Rand stole his sword from his grandmother or that said grandmother beat his ass for trying. Rand ignores this and brushes past him to go back inside and finds Matt working on his 3rd plate. While the bouncer stands by the door, Rand came back through. Rand tells Matt about the merchant and what the servers had been talking about, and Matt immediately clues what Rand has, that Goad is after them. Rand asks if he thinks they're going to get past the bouncer, and Matt replies that they can't without making enough noise to alert the innkeeper. He then says, "I knew we should never have stopped here," which is quite possibly the funniest thing I've ever heard him say. Babe, I have you in 4K. Like 10 pages ago, making Rand follow you into the inn. Very funny, though. I did laugh out loud. Hake does come into the kitchen then, demanding that they get back out there. And they do, to more cries for juggling and songs. Goad, for his part, had been on the edge of his seat, but once they come back out, he relaxes. Suspicious as fuck. Rand is no longer playing quite as well, missing a few notes here and there, but like Hake said, nobody really seems to care. Rand contemplates how to get away, stymied by how like a prison a full inn could be. Between the crowd, Hake, and Goad, they have no way out. Matt, for his part, is now glaring at Hake and the bouncers, putting his hand on the dagger whenever he's not juggling, and staring at Goad as well, who just smiles more. Only Rand's sword seemed to put him off. Rand keeps playing, and Matt keeps juggling, but the toll of performing is clearly getting to Rand. His head hurts, eyes are blurry, knees weak, arms spaghetti. But at long last, people do start leaving. Goad is the last one left, and he's given a room, smiling once more at the boys before he goes upstairs. This leaves them with just Hake, Jack, and Strom, who I should say are the bouncers. I guess they can have their names now. Their names are Jack and Strom. Hake goes to show them to the storeroom, and Matt questions whether he needs the bouncers, to which Hake says that he's a man of property, so he can never be too careful. Rand insists that the 3 of them lead the way, and they do, going through a door into a hallway with no light. Only the lamp Hake is carrying lets them see enough to walk forward. The hall ends at an unpainted door, and through that door is the storeroom with their pallets. Abandoned and disused, the presence of the pallets is almost a surprise for how full of junk the room is. Rand knows that Hake won't try anything until they're asleep, but he also knows that once they're gone, he and Matt are out the window. He tells Hake to leave the lamp, which he does, and they leave. Though when Rand pokes his head out, he can see one of the bouncers standing at the other end of the hall. Matt asks what they're waiting for, and Rand says to help him find something to block the door. Matt finally is now on board with leaving, saying he'd rather be wet than dead. Better late than never, I guess. Rand has wanted to leave this entire time. And begins to help, but they don't find much useful until Rand sees 2 splitting wedges on a shelf. He shoves them under the door, timing his movements with the thunder so that he can't be heard, and they move to get started on the window. This window is dirt encrusted, clearly also unused for a long time, and it does take some work to get open, but it does. Right onto some fucking iron bars on the window. This place really is like a prison. That's crazy. Matt had found a crowbar, though, in their search, and he goes to get it to try and wedge the bars off. As thunder roars, they push, but it's even slower going than the window itself had been. Suddenly, Rand slips in water and they crash to the ground. But as they get back up to try again, the door moves like someone's trying to open it. Rand, assuming it's Hake, tells him to go away, but it's not Hake. It's Goad, who informs them that Hake and the bouncers are out of commission for the night. He says that they have to talk, and Matt replies they have nothing to talk about, which makes Goad laugh a nasty-ass laugh. Of course we have things to talk about, he says. You know that as well as I. I saw it in your eyes. I know what you are, perhaps better than you do. I can feel it coming from you in waves. Already, you halfway belong to my master. Stop running and accept it. Things will be so much easier for you. If the Tar Valon hags find you, you'll wish you could cut your own throat before they are done, but you won't be able to. Only my master can protect you from them. Rand denies knowing anything, but Goad obviously is not convinced. Stop being foolish, my young friends. You know very well. The great Lord of the Dark has marked you for his own. It is written that when he awakes, the new Dreadlords will be there to praise him. You must be 2 of them, else I would not have been sent to find you. Think of it. Life everlasting and power beyond dreams. Unfortunately for Goad, Matt and Rand are not buying what he's selling, and he loses patience, demanding that they open the door. A heavy body slams into it now, pushing it open. They're trapped. No way out. Rand can only think desperately of how they might find a way out when suddenly light fills the room. Light and sound and heat, throwing Rand into a wall. Staggering to his feet, he looks around. The lamp is still alight, but the barrels and crates that had been in there were smoldering where they had also been thrown. The window is gone, as is most of the surrounding wall, smoking around the edges. Rand stands the lamp up because the fire is the last thing they need right now, and Matt shows up in a pile of crates, weaving on his feet. He begins to laugh hysterically, and Rand asks what happened. Matt says it was lightning, striking directly at the bars. Deus Ex Machina, Chekhov's fucking lightning bolt. Everyone else is gone now, though, and Rand can hear people upstairs yelling and running. It's time to fucking go. Finally. As they go out through the hole in the wall, lightning strikes overhead, and he can see Goad's minions lying there, dead. Eyes open but unseeing, staring at the sky. Time to go. Fuck this place, actually. They leave, slowly and precariously, but they do leave. As they go, only once does Rand look back before the rain erases the dancing cartman from his vision. He can see a man shaking his fist from the back of the inn, though he doesn't know if it's Goad or Hake. Either one would be as bad as the other, in Rand's opinion, and mine also. This place fucking sucks. They continue on their way out of Four Kings, Rand listening through the rain for the sounds of pursuit, and the chapter ends.
Kill them all.
Kill them all, actually. Take their hands.
Put him on a pike.
Keep your hands to your fucking self.
Never trust a skinny innkeeper.
Never.
Never. I never will. Apparently. Because they're all demons.
I love it.
Even though this is the first skinny one we've ever met.
Rand,
Jesus, Rand.
Don't say that.
Dude.
Can you say that now?
It's not only that, it's that it's the first thing he thinks whenever he sees a new one. Like, babe, what is this?
Small town mentality.
Right. At the one in Whitebridge. He was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, are all innkeepers fat? Stop it. Stop doing that."
Oh man. I know it's not meant to really be in theme, but the way you read it, Flint, made it feel in theme with the harassment of the maids. Uh when you were reading basically about, come on, just this is for my master. You want it. Basically, it gave me the fucking creeps in a very primal. As a woman, many of us have heard things said like that to us before, and I'm like, this motherfucker right here really is a child of the Dark One.
Is a what?
Not you, the character is really a child of the Dark One because he
Oh,
was
yes.
like, trying to get through that door. Come on, just basically he was essentially saying, "Come on, just take it. It'll be easier." You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. I hadn't thought about it that way, but
Like
yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
I did not really think about it that way until I heard it read in a masculine voice like that.
Yeah.
And I listened to the audiobooks. It didn't even connect to me with the way Michael reads it. It took the way you read it for me to get those
Skeeved.
so
My bad.
So skeeved.
Sorry.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, he's saying, "I know what you are. I can feel it coming off you in waves." And I'm like, me to you when we were like 17 and you wouldn't come out.
Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving. Bye. We're not talking about this. We're not talking about it ever. Yeah. No, he's creepy. I don't like him.
Nice. He's creepy as fuck. They really were stuck between a rock and a hard place in that one.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost quite literally saved by the light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a theory about that now.
What's that?
Based on, well, I was going to see if we had other stuff to talk about, but based on what Goad said about he thinks that they're supposed to be dreadlords. And I wouldn't have this theory if I hadn't also just been looking at the transcript for, I think, episode 7, episode 6 or episode 7, where I ask what a dreadlord is, and I get told that they're channelers who support the Dark One. So now, what I think, because it only seems to happen when Rand is in like mortal immediate peril, like with the Trolloc who gets hit by the ship, and now here where lightning strikes, I think he called it. That's what I think right now. If those pieces fit together the way that way, that's what I think right now.
I think that's an incredibly logical conclusion. That makes perfect sense to me.
Just because and I mean, it could be, just that it happened to strike because there's iron bars there, sure, but it could have struck at any time. Just very lucky. And for him to get lucky like that twice, I'm a little suspicious.
You don't believe in coincidences?
Not twice.
I mean, he could just have main character energy.
I guess so. Plot armor. I will say also, so at the end of the last chapter, at the end of Alex's chapter, it says it went like this until they got to 4 kings, and I was immediately pissed because I was like, you can't. What the fuck happens in 4 kings? And then I turned the page, and then we're in 4 kings, and I was like, oh, well then I guess this is fine because I have already gotten it's. I said it's like I've already gotten so used to having a different POV every chapter or a couple of chapters, even though I think this only makes like 4.
Yeah.
Between the last time we had a Rand POV, I've just gotten so used to it because it's been so long in between recording episodes. So I just expected that we were going to go somewhere else and I was going to have to wait. And so when I didn't, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm fine. I guess I'm not mad anymore.
And then 4 kings happened.
And then 4 kings
Four
happened.
kings happened.
Yeah, and I just got angry again. So love that for me. I love this journey that I'm having.
Lots of emotional whiplash and lots of righteous reader anger.
Yeah, lots of gross fucking men.
Yeah,
Ew.
disgusting. As we've stated multiple times this
And
episode,
like
kill them all.
the way he just casually backhanded that woman, are you
Insane.
for real?
Insane. You must not want your
Like,
teeth in your face.
fucking understand why the women in this place run around the way they do.
Yeah, you must want your teeth on the ground. That must be what that is. Disgusting.
Yeah.
How dare you? And then to say that he's going to dock her pay for the
Yeah.
things that he made her that he made her break.
Yeah.
Kill him. Kill him right now.
Can that lightning strike him too?
Hopefully the whole inn is on fire.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did the can we go back? Did the chapter specify if the inn was made of wood? Because that would make life a lot easier. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it was a brick building. That's a pretty shoddy
Oh yeah,
place.
no, because they were talking about the ugly paint designs on everything. I feel like that would be on wood and plaster.
Yeah. Well, and I think it says as he's going through, because everything is gross here. Let's see. Yeah, drab wooden houses stand cheek by jowl. So I
Boy.
think all the, if not all, then most of the buildings are wood.
But
At least the ones that they see.
they've already had two perfectly fine inns burned down behind them.
Yeah.
A literal
Let's just
trail of
continue the
destruction.
pattern.
Yeah, absolutely insane record, by the way,
Holy
for staying
shit.
at inns.
No, the
Oh my
only
God.
one that didn't get burned down is the one in Whitebridge.
Like,
Yeah.
So far that those two have been to.
yeah. So like, I was like,
Or wait,
as
maybe
they're leaving,
has
I'm
it
like,
only been the
holy
one
shit,
then?
Huh?
because
Has it only been the one that burned down then? Was I mistaken?
it's just been the second line that we know for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
you're
I
right.
mean,
For some reason I was thinking it happened in Whitebridge too. It didn't.
mm-mm. I don't know. I don't
No, it didn't
remember if
happen
it
in Whitebridge.
says. No, but so they're staying
Everywhere but that inn burned down
right.
in Whitebridge. That's what it was.
That's what it
Right.
was.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it.
It
Okay.
had yeah, they specified that it was one of the few things still standing.
Okay. Yeah.
when
So yeah, but they stay at the second lion and it burns down. They go and they're only in there for a few minutes and then Tom fucking dies because a fate is there. And then they go and they work at this place and
lightning hits.
And a dark friend finds them. And then they're only saved literally by a lightning strike.
That
Maybe
may or
just
may
stop
not
going.
be coincidental.
Maybe just stop staying in inns. Like named ones anyway.
Yeah.
Like don't go
Stop
to those.
learning the inn names so that the reader doesn't learn the inn names and then the inns won't burn down.
Right.
The dancing cartman, I can't help but think of fucking South Park. Like
Literally.
Yeah, I thought about it the entire time. Yeah.
I picture like Cartman dancing to the song Kyle's Mom's a Big Fat Bitch. The way he dances in that.
God, I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, no, that's
I
what I
that
thought
song
immediately.
in my head all the time. I fucking love that movie so much. But there's this guy on all social media platforms that does an amazing Cartman impression, and he goes over and he records videos of him singing songs as Cartman, and it's just so fucking funny. It's hilarious. Can we talk about the fact that like Mr. completely oblivious to everything Rand fucking clocks Hag like eyeing his sword?
I mean, yeah, he's started to notice things more and more as time has gone by.
Out of necessity. Only out of necessity.
Yeah.
We've pointed it out before. He's getting a little bit more aware of his surroundings, thankfully. Hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, and then he'll still turn around and do something real stupid.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Like, it was like, one step forward, two back. I feel like clocking this, though, was a 2-step forward. Maybe just 1 step. They were pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the innkeeper has been fucking suspicious the entire time. Not because he's skinny, but because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we'll perform for you, knowing full well, what kind of town it is, and even then, all they ask for is food and a room. And he's like, no, you can sleep in a storeroom in the back on pallets, and you can have leftovers from whatever is left at the end of the night. No, asshole. Did you want business or not?
Right.
Yeah, the way they had to be like, listen, we can't keep playing if we fall over from starvation.
Right.
We
Right.
need to eat.
Right. And Rand said, and I'll have your best. That's right. You better lay down the law, mister.
Advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
No one else will.
Right. Do Gleemen have unions?
I mean,
Probably a guild.
probably. Like, that's probably one of the few professions that kind of does have a union in this world.
I bet they've got one hell of a guild.
Yeah.
That's what Tom could have lied about when they were first getting on the boat. Oh yeah, I'm taking these boys to Camelin to the Gleeman's Guild to register them as apprentices.
Right.
People be like, "Oh shit, that's a registered Gleeman." Like they're just like the mafia. They're just like someplace.
A registered Gleeman, a card carrying Gleeman.
And now I'm just thinking of the Thieves Guild from Discworld. Do you think if they had let them like be in between going down that hallway, they just would have jumped them right then and there in the hallway? That
Probably.
storage room. I think so too.
It would be really easy to do it there
Easily.
because there's nowhere to escape to, and also it's pitch black.
With the exception of the lamp, which was in front of them. All he had to do was put one of those bouncers in front of the boys and one behind them. And they'd have been fucked. Honestly, put them both behind them and they're still fucked.
I was going to say, although it did say that their arms were as big around as some dude's legs. So, like, maybe I wouldn't mind. That's all I had to say.
I don't know why I find it so funny that the names of songs are different in different places, even with like a 10-mile difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as like some of it's hummed, Rand's like, "Oh, I got you."
Yeah. And it's like what we talked about last time. The songs that all kids know somehow, and they just from the ether, I guess.
Yeah.
The collective unconscious.
I guess it's also like the ABC song and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star having the same tune. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And Baba Black Sheep.
And so eventually it's bound to be that some of them get more popular because of the emotions or the tempo or whatever it is.
And especially in that case, those are very simple tunes for children.
Mm-hmm. And it is because these names have to come from somewhere. So it makes me think that all of those names must have some significance to the area that they're coming from.
Right.
Especially for them to change over such a short distance.
Yeah.
Is really interesting.
Yeah.
The amount of them that wind up being about tinkers.
Yeah.
That honestly, just that alone, that's a sociologist wet dream right there for like a PhD dissertation. Mm-hmm. Just study that.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, you could see the Tuatha on, you could see them anywhere, really, because they kind of go wherever.
Yeah.
And they bring the same services and they sing the same songs, and so, But yeah, it is interesting that every single place that they go has a song about tinkers.
Yeah.
That is something.
Including Emmons Field, because Perrin requested one.
Mm-hmm.
That made the Tinkers laugh.
Yeah, which of course they know, but under a different name.
My pot or something like that. And they call it, I think it's something feathers.
Yeah.
I think it was like Toss the Feathers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We want to talk about the foot rubbing in the kitchen?
No. I don't want to. I hate it so much. Why does it keep happening to me?
It's so gross. And the whole time I was reading it, I was like, and they don't wash their hands.
And they just keep serving the food and the drinks.
And the
God.
fact that Cook allows it means she don't give a shit either.
Right. Yeah, Robert Jordan to the front of the class right now. Explain yourself this instant.
How dare you make me read that with my own eyes?
I know, but at least he's equal opportunity,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
A foot is a foot is a foot, I guess.
It's kind of funny that you're calling him out this hard at this point when we haven't even gotten to the thing that everyone claims is his thinly veiled kink in the series.
Oh no.
Just you wait.
Oh.
Just you wait. I've written an entire song parody about it that I haven't recorded yet.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure I sent you the lyrics to the parody.
You probably have. Now Flint's gonna be like, as we read, be like, is this it? Is this it? Is this it?
I don't know.
I mean, not to everything,
maybe.
but like anything that's just a little off or a little weird or a little
I'm already doing it with the feet because I don't why is this the detail that you felt you needed to include and have published? What is that?
It would have.
I mean, ultimately, whatever. I don't care. I get viscerally uncomfortable. I don't want to think about dudes in bare feet, wet, flopping on wooden boards. I don't want to think about that. I'm really not trying to visualize it, but because he said it, I couldn't help but do so, and I didn't like it.
It would have been so much better if he had said like they were massaging their ankles.
Sure.
So much.
I mean, it could have been anything, but the fact that it was specifically, and the fact that he makes a point to say that Rand and Matt going into the kitchen did not stop them from rubbing their feet.
Right.
Presumably, I figured, like, what did I need to know that specifically for? Like, ultimately, I don't care. It's just funny, and I hate it also.
At least it didn't happen to you directly. At least
it didn't happen to me directly.
Like you were not personally Matt or Rand walking into that gross assy.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And having to eat around it. By the way, can we talk about Matt scarfing down 3 plates of like whole ass bowls of food? Is the man a Super Saiyan?
He must be.
Like, is he a Shonen character? Look at how much he's eating.
Being a stank ass bitch takes a lot of energy out of him.
Right. I said, please, Matt, stop. You're not going to be able to juggle anymore. You'll be as round as a ball yourself. But, you know, and then Randa's like, actually, I am starving. So.
Right.
Yeah. I could eat. Yeah. No, everyone here is so menacing. I hate the vibe of this place. Gross. Good fucking riddance. And yeah, no, again, Matt being like, I knew we should never have stopped here. Babe.
Motherfucker. You what? Excuse you, bitch.
I have you in 4K. I have you in 4K walking through the door, refusing to leave when Rand said that he wanted to more than once.
Word for word, I don't want to be out in the rain.
He said, I want to go. He said, and beyond the storm? No. Rand said, I want to go. And he said, we can eat first. It's, yeah. There are certain things that are like the funniest things I've seen from each character so far in the book. That is the funniest thing that I've seen from Matt this entire book so far. That was really funny to me.
That is funny.
Because it's like the thing that he would say it, and then in like if it were televised, like Rand would look at him and it would play like a sound effect, like dong. I will say, I think this is like also when Dode tells them that he suspects that they're meant to be dreadlords. I think this is the first time that it's like explicitly stated what the Dark One even wants with them. all Moraine says is that he wants them, but
Right.
we don't know necessarily what for until now, if Goat is right.
Right.
Um, so I and like with everything else that was going on, I didn't really emphasize it very much. But I think that's like a really crucial sort of plot development, actually, to find out what the actual goal is, if that's what it is. Right. And again, because of what dreadlords are, like that implies a whole bunch of things about all three of them. If Moraine thinks that he's after all three of them. But to be at minimum earmarked at birth to be a lieutenant of hell, that's crazy. That's insane.
And now the
You know what I
question
thought about
is,
immediately? I thought about Sam Winchester. Eric Kripke must have been a Wheel of Time fan. He must be.
of course you did.
I I couldn't. What do you mean? That's insane. I mean, it's even on its own, like it's and for anyone who cares, I do not watch Supernatural anymore. I do not consider myself a fan, but I will die for Sam Winchester. Thank you. Anyway, um, the thing about it anyway is it's a really remarkable, maybe not remarkable, but it is notable, like an inversion of the expectation of being a chosen one, like to be destined for greatness in some way. You assume that it's like a positive thing, like destined to be a hero, and for this, it's like absolutely not. Nope, nope.
No,
You
thank you.
you are chosen to be a destroyer, and not just that, to be a dreadlord, like top of the top.
Right.
That's wild. That's wild and terrifying. And Rand is like 17. Like, what do you do with that?
and now the question is Rand even going to think about that ever again?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. No, my question is, does Moraine know? Does she suspect? Because she has not said anything about them and channeling or anything. She's only spoken to the women about it, Egwene and Nynaeve.
Right.
So does she know? How much does she know about what the Dark One plans for them, or is it enough that she knows that he's after them? Because
and
why them?
there's so
Even
many.
at even at like after Winter Night, how did she know that it was only their three houses that were targeted? How did she even know when she got there to give them the coins? Those three in particular.
Well, she
If it had been
asked around about things,
yep,
right?
yep,
And
yep.
she knew, didn't she already know their names on approaching them? Or no, they knew her name is what it was. She probably knew their names. But I also think she had the like a general idea of the age, and they fit that general idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I just because how would she know what age to look for? Is I don't we don't actually know much about where she came from before or what she was doing before she showed up in Emmons Field, which is fine for now. I assume maybe we'll find out eventually, possibly, hopefully. But I am curious to know how much of the Dark One's plans for them that she knows of. And if she does know, and it's another thing she decided they didn't really need to know because it would be enough for them to stay near her.
Right.
Because now they're not.
Another thing to consider, Moraine has explained that there are women who have the spark born in them who will channel regardless, and then there are women who can be taught how to channel, and there are women who can never touch the source at all. So if the Dark One has these plans for them, would they have the spark inborn, or does he just think he can teach them? Or does the Dark One have a secret third option where he can just make someone a channeler if he wants because he's literal Satan?
I mean, he probably could anyway, but two things can be true. He he probably can make anyone he wants to be a channeler, but also one or both of the other two as well.
Well, and I guess I wonder if what Goat has to say about him is true, because he says that he can offer life and death and life. So whether that's to resurrect things or kill them, and whether that power is related to the source.
Right.
I don't know. Isn't I don't remember. Did Maureen talk about 5 elements or just 4?
It's 5. There's
Is it
earth,
like
air,
spirit?
fire, water, and spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Spirit, ether. So if spirit is related to that, then maybe that's what it is. As
Entirely
in
possible.
life giving and life taking. I don't know. I am willing to wait and see, but I do have my questions.
Eventually.
Eventually. 12 books from now?
Yeah.
Sick.
That's about
Give
right.
or take.
I don't think I have anything else on this one.
Yeah, no. I think I said most of what I wanted to say in the summary, and I've said everything else since then.
Off with heads and hands.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm being so serious, actually.
That cannot be stressed enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no. How dare you? Yeah. Those women are just there. They're just working. And then when they're doing it at the Dancing Cartman and they get rescued, and then Hake just yells at them and shakes them and makes them cry more. Kill him extra.
Yes.
Kill him twice, actually. And that's not even enough.
At the restaurant that I work at, we literally have a sign hanging on the wall above one of the bathroom doors that says "Hands off the waitresses."
Which I hate, but also good. Because you must not want your fingers. Right. Do we have anything else? I think we've discussed.
I think we've discussed. Let's see. First chapter, Bella's missing, kill them all. Second chapter, Elsie Grinwell is a little
star
hoe.
that you are.
Your power, your aura. Love you, girl.
She's beauty, she's grace. And third chapter, cut off their hands, kill them all. I think that's it.
Sounds good to me. Yep. I agree.
Me too.
So what do you think is coming next?
Well, it seems like everyone is going to Camelin one way or the other. So I'm predicting that maybe eventually one day we'll get there. I don't know yet.
Headed in that direction.
It's roundabout, but we're getting there. I know that we're gonna have to get more about the White Cloaks, and on like an academic level, I'm kind of interested to see like the dynamics of the society and stuff, but I hate them all. So like I don't want to read about them, but I do also kind of want to know. I'm just curious.
Do White Cloaks have nuns? Sorry.
Nuns?
That was an ADHD thought that I did not mean to pop out of my mouth.
Did you say nuns?
Yes. Like
I don't know. Do White Cloaks fuck?
I'm pretty sure throughout the entire series they are a completely male-only society. Yeah.
There's only male White Cloaks.
We know.
So do they fuck?
They have to. Bornhald's got a son.
Oh, that's true. Unless it's like mitosis.
Cell division.
The small Bornhold buds off of the big Bornhold.
Well,
only only the anointed can do that though.
Oh, okay. That's like.
Otherwise, the rest are just little Medusa polyps.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Work. I'm understanding how this works now.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you with that thought.
That's fine. It's now I know a little bit more. But yeah, no, I don't know. So does that mean that the white cloaks are all nuns? Is that should I be understanding it that way?
Oh my god. If they reproduce like that, that means they're reptiles.
Oh, cold-blooded. See,
I mean,
That's why they smell wrong to the
that's
wolves.
accurate.
that'll do it.
Wolves.
That'll do it.
Because reptiles are
Cold-hearted
known
snake.
for reproduction without a mate. They clone themselves, especially snakes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That do that. So yes, they are nuns. Reptile nuns.
Reptile nuns, like Velocipaster. Oh my god.
Not Velocipaster. I can't. That movie is too much.
I was not expecting to hear that.
My God.
I'm just
Excellent.
picturing Child Buyer with in the children's outfit from the TV show, but it's just like a raptor head. No, no. Now I'm picturing one of those fun blow up T-Rex costumes wearing a children's costume.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's when I'm gonna do cosplay. That's gonna be my first ever cosplay.
Yes.
That's what I'm gonna do.
We should all
gonna
go to
wear it in-
WatCon like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear an inflatable T-Rex suit and a white towel.
And a white
And I'm gonna
towel.
say I'm a white cloak.
A white cloak. God.
You heard it here, folks.
The white cloaks are reptile nuns.
That's I'm a big fan of that theory.
We need to rechange our podcast theme to Wheel of Time conspiracy theories. Will, you look like you got something to say.
I'm at a loss right now.
My God, my stomach hurts now.
Okay. Yeah, we can be done.
Yeah, we need to be done.
I think this is it for this
Nothing's gonna
episode.
top Velocipaster, Children of the Light. So
Might as well end this on a high note.
yep.
Right. Well, thank you all for listening to whatever that was.
We're a very serious podcast. Thank you.
Serious.
Totally serial,
podcast.
guys. Thank you so much for listening.
We'll see y'all next
See you
time.
next time.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Easing the Badger. To continue reading along with us every other Tuesday, please make sure you subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you find podcasts. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and a review where possible. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at EasingBadgerPod, or send us an email at easingthebadgerpod@gmail.com. Our link tree will be in the show notes. Theme music is Magic Tavern by Alexander Nakarada.